Since I turned 80 years old, I realized that I had learned a lot of things, but I realized that I had made a decision that made me very sad, and that was to decide to move to a nursing home. When I made this decision, it seemed like the right decision to me. Even my family supported me and stood by me when I made this decision. They also promised me that they would take care of me, that all my needs would be met, and that I would settle in a very comfortable place. Because they were my family, I did not look for any ulterior motives in what they told me, and I trusted them with all my sincerity. However, when I settled there, I realized that the reality was very different from what I thought. I can guess that most of you are closer to this option. You believe that this is the safest and right decision for yourself or a loved one. But before you make that decision, I am going to share with you 6 things that someone told me to tell you about moving to a nursing home. Because moving to a nursing home is not really about making your life easier. It is about changing your whole life. And you should know that once you are there, leaving is not as easy and simple as you think. I suggest you listen to what I'm about to tell you, because what you are about to hear may surprise you. If you or one of your loved ones is about to make the decision to move into a nursing home, after what I am about to say, he will hear the best things he needs to hear about his decision. The first stage is regret, the complete loss of self-independence. When I made the decision to move into a nursing home, what surprised me the most was not the tiny rooms, the unchanging meal times, or the people I didn't know. Before I settled here, I had my own routine of activities that I did on my own. It was entirely up to me when I ate, when I woke up, and how I spent my day. It was entirely up to me when I wanted to read a book quietly in a favorite armchair, cook and eat the food I wanted whenever I wanted, and go for a walk whenever I felt like. But after I settled in the nursing home, I realized that the control of my time was completely taken away from me. My time no longer felt like my time. Breakfast had to be eaten at a certain time. It didn't matter whether I was hungry or not. All the lights were turned off at a new time, no exception. It didn't matter whether I was ready to go to sleep or not. If you wanted to go for a walk outside, you had to ask permission from someone in charge, and even if permission was given, you had to wait for someone to accompany you. Decisions such as what to eat, what to wear, or when to sleep no longer felt like basic rights, but a privilege. I remember when I first moved in, waking up in a bed that felt like it wasn't mine. I woke up and stretched and yawned a bit, and then reached for the book I was reading at home. When I checked my surroundings, I realized that I was no longer in my own home. The books I cherished, the armchair I enjoyed sitting on, and all the comforts I had built up over the years seemed to have disappeared. In their place, a bed that wasn't mine, clean walls, and a feeling that I couldn't get rid of. I didn't have a say in my life. The hardest part? Once you lose your freedom, it's almost impossible to regain it. You have to adapt. You have no other choice. You have to accept whatever they tell you to eat. You have to accept whatever they tell you to eat. There's no point if you want to object. Whenever you feel like taking a walk, you can't do it, and you stop asking it. In the end, you learn to obey the system and the rules of the nursing home. If you or a loved one is planning to move into a nursing home, you should ask yourself this question: are you ready to give up the free and independent life that is yours? Because once you lose that free and independent life, you will miss it even more. The second stage is regret, feeling completely forgotten. The other most vivid thing you will realize when you move into a nursing home is that the world outside is going on without you. When I first moved in, my family promised me that they would come to visit me frequently and often. I naturally believed them, and indeed, at first they did. My beloved daughter would visit me once a week. My grandchildren would visit me on weekends and never leave me alone. It was as if my old life had come back with me. But the months started to pass, and the visits became less and less. My dear daughter started calling me instead of coming to visit me. My grandchildren were in similar situations. They were no longer coming because of work and school. These were not the only disappointments. The vacation days were more hurtful than all of these. My daughter and grandchildren promised to come, but somehow they all had last-minute work commitments or changed their plans. And then I realized that I was all alone in the common area, just as my other nursing home friends were watching the door, in case someone remembered me or them and came to visit. My family hadn't given up on me or on loving me, but somehow their whole lives got in the way and became a wall between us. When you don't have people or loved ones with you all the time, it is even easier for them to assume that you are doing well. The truth is that the longer you stay in a nursing home, the easier it is for people to forget how much you need them. One afternoon, I was sitting in my room and I picked up the phone, and I was in a dilemma whether to call my son or not. I wondered if I would burden him. I thought he would be sad if he remembered I was here. He would understand that I was waiting for a visit that would never happen. So I didn't call, and I left the phone on the milk of the coffee table. That's when I realized this was was my whole life now, watching the days slip away from my life one by one and waiting hopefully for someone to remember me. If you or someone you love very much is thinking of moving to a nursing home, you should ask yourself, am I ready for loneliness? Because no matter how much those who love you and your family love you, once you are out of sight, it is easier than you think to be out of mind. If you are still watching this video and find the memories I shared from my life to be useful to you, please let me know in the comments by writing, "It was useful." In the comments below, please don't forget to let me know what has happened to you if you have already settled in. And if you still haven't settled in, please let me know what it evokes for you now. Also, if you are not subscribed yet, I recommend you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. That way, you won't miss any future videos. My third stage regret, the gradual loss of a sense of purpose for something. When I moved to a nursing home, I thought that only the place I lived in, my home, had changed. I didn't realize that at the same time, my reasons for why I live had changed. When I lived in my own home, I had responsibilities to do. I had routine chores to do, and I had hobbies and reasons to wake up in the morning. When I did things like taking care of the plants, making myself a nice cup of coffee, tidying up the house and the surrounding, I gained a small sense of purpose. But when I moved into the nursing home, these daily chores and tasks started to disappear. The cooking was already done. The cleaning was done by someone else. At first, I convinced myself that after all these years of living, there was nothing wrong with a little rest. There were no more chores to do, no more responsibilities. The only thing left for me to do was to rest as I wanted. But at the end of 3 or 4 weeks, I started to realize that something was missing. The days seemed longer and longer, and there was nothing for me to do, and I was just waiting for long out. I noticed that other friends were in the same situation as me. People who had a lot of life energy before they moved here spent most of the days sitting around and idly watching and waiting for the time to pass. There was even a man named Mark, 85 years old, who had been a shoemaker for many years, but during his stay here, he had no tools, no project to aim for, nothing to build, and I noticed that gradually over time, he was isolating himself from everything. I could see that in his hands, which used to be strong, resourceful, and willing. He was on his knees while he lived here. One day, I was watching him like this again, and he turned to me and said, "I feel useless while I live here." At that moment, I understood exactly what he was saying, because I was beginning to feel that way too. When you no longer have anything to take care of, when you have nothing to strive for, when you have no goals, life slowly starts to lose its meaning for you. When your mind and soul start to slow down, your body starts to keep pace with them, then you realize that time is moving forward, but nothing changes for you. In short, you start to feel like your other nursing home friend. In the light of what I have told you, I really want you to ask yourself this question before you settle in a nursing home. What is it that gives meaning to your life? Because I can easily say that once you settle here, finding this purpose is not just about filling your free time. It's also a struggle to hold on to the things that are going to keep you alive. The fourth stage of regret, the loss of health, which happened faster than you expected. Before I moved into a nursing home, I was quite healthy for someone my age. I was not a marathon runner, but I could manage my own affairs, cook my own food, and go for a walk. I had regular jobs that helped me maintain my life energy. I did my own shopping. I did stretching in the mornings. And if I wasn't in the mood to do any of these things, I would walk around the house and try to keep myself right. But I didn't expect the whole process to change so much after I moved here. Before I realized all this, at the beginning of everything, I thought I was just rest from the food I ate to the water I drank to the medication I needed to take. Someone else was doing it all, and my every wish was at my fingertips. I didn't have to do the housework. I didn't even have to stand in the kitchen. If I needed something, I could just press a button and someone would come take care of it. But what I realized over time was that the less I did for myself, the weaker and more debilitated I became. And the less I moved, and the less I moved, the heavier my legs got. I started to sit more than I used to. So when I tried to get up from the chair, it was very difficult. My muscle, which I had tried to keep strong for years, were losing their old endurance and strength much faster than I expected. In addition, this situation was not only limited to me, but I witnessed that other nursing home friends also had this condition. People who had come running of their own accord had become dependent on wheelchairs over time. Almost all of the people who were free and independent in everything they did without any difficulty before coming here had to resort to the help of someone else. The more help we received from others, the more we needed help. I remember my friend who lived in the next room. Her name was Jasmine, and when she first came here, she was very lively, cheerful, and full of life. I remember her age very well. She was 83. She would occasionally take a walk in the garden of the nursing home, and she used to say that you don't need to be young to do that, so age was not an obstacle for her. But when time passed and he got used to this place, I realized that he no longer took the walks he used to take. Over time, he used a walker, and then he had to use a wheelchair. One day, when we were sitting together after the day, he switched to a wheelchair. He looked at me and said, "I don't know when it happened, but in the few months I've been here, I feel like I've aged 10 years. And it really felt like he said, your body is just like a machine. The more you stop using it, the more you render it inoperable. And in a place that is all about making your life easier, it is very easy to forget that not moving is actually the key to survival, not just rest. And if I had known how quickly I would lose my strength and power, I would have tried much harder. I would have moved even if my body didn't want to, and even if I didn't feel like. Don't be afraid. Ask yourself, do you trust that you will not lose the motivation to keep your strength in this place where there are opportunities to make every aspect of your life easier? Because once you lose that motivation and you lose that strength, it is not easy to get it back. If you're still with me and you think what I've told you has been useful, please don't forget to mention it in the comments, and don't forget to leave me a keep going despite everything in the comment. Also, if you are not subscribed yet, I suggest you subscribe and turn on the notification bell. This way, we can continue to share our experiences with each other, and you can help us share inspiring quality content. My fifth big regret: loss of privacy and sense of honor. What I never thought I would lose before I moved to a nursing home was my privacy. When I was living at home, I had my own space. No matter what, I could close the door to my bedroom, or I could prepare a quiet environment just for myself and just sit, or whatever I wanted to do. I could do it on my own terms. But in the nursing home I live in now, the notion of privacy is sometimes not a luxury that is only in your hand. From the moment I settled here, I constantly felt that all eyes were on me and that I was being watched. In addition to this, there were routine room checks and common areas where we had to be. This was really uncomfortable. Even when putting on the simplest clothes or going to the toilet, you had to get help from someone. I was well aware that they were doing their job, but it is not as easy as it seems to have to ask for help when you are doing these things that you have been doing all your life in a free and independent way. I think back to the first days when I moved to the nursing home. It was really hard to get over the idea of having to ask permission for even simple things that I had done so quickly and without thinking in my life before I came here. It sounds simple, but even if you want to take a shower, you have to wait for one of the staff to be available. You are not allowed to do it on your own, or you have to go to the restroom and you need to meet this need. When you press the call button, the person who will come can come in a longer time than you are waiting. The food was also a completely different situation. For example, is there a dish you don't like on the menu that day? It doesn't matter. You can't change it. And the variety of food was not that wide. You don't have a chance to make it yourself. One of the most crucial points is the roommate issue. Not everyone can stay in private single rooms, and you will share a room with an annoying person. You can't choose, and you can't change that. No matter how annoying it is, you cannot change this situation. Of course, it was more comfortable for me. My roommate was polite, but I have heard unpleasant things from other friends about those who are not so lucky. The roommates of these unlucky friends were people who were not careful about cleaning or had mental problems. This made it almost impossible to sleep. In light of this, no matter how much you try to make the room you live in feel like home and organize it, it is never your home. The hardest thing is to realize that you have lost your dignity. It's not easy, and I didn't realize how hard it was until I was in a nursing home. When you are sitting in your room, or when you are unavailable, when you knock on the door and enter the room without waiting for an answer, when you are treated like a patient and not like a normal person, when the simple things you do on a daily basis go according to a schedule that you did not choose. This really affects you and inevitably changes you. You no longer feel like me, but like a job to be completed on a schedule. Every moment I find myself asking myself, was it worth losing my privacy, which has been under my control all my life? I think you should ask yourself that question, not after you arrive, but before you arrive. My sixth regret was realizing that leaving is harder than you think. When I first moved into the nursing home, I was convinced that this was all temporary, that it was just a trial, that I could always leave if things didn't go as I expected, and that I would always have somewhere to go. But I would later realize that once you're here, it's actually harder to get out than you think. At first, it seemed simple, like everything else. I always told myself that if I didn't like it, I could go home. But the truth of the matter was that my home was no longer the same home. It was empty because I was living here, and it was getting harder and harder to manage it from a distance to meet its needs. My children were already at work, selling things they didn't think I could use, changing many things, and even thinking of renting out the house. When I told them about my idea, come back, they hesitated for some reason. They started giving me answers like, "Are you sure? Can you cope with all this on your own?" As if I couldn't before. "Isn't it safer for you to stay there?" As if I needed a lot of security before this. And the classic, "You know we only want what's best for you." After hearing that, it was actually over, but I will continue. There is also the physiological breakdown aspect of this, which is also very difficult. As the months went by and I didn't have to cook, I didn't have to clean myself, and living in a place where I didn't need to walk at all, I physically lost a lot of my old strength. The freedom and independence I had before this place slowly started to disappear. This made the idea of returning home, which I had envisioned in my mind, even more difficult. My faith in the idea of living on my own was waning, even though I knew I could normally do it, and the fear that gripped me drew me closer to the idea of staying there. I met other people who had been in the same situation, people who thought they would get out of the nursing home after they had made up their minds about the decision, but they believed they would never make it. The longer you stayed, the more difficult it was to adapt to life outside. I have seen some people in situations where this is completely out of the question, where relatives have sold their home and the cost of care has eaten up their life savings. There is no going back after that. This is actually the most important thing that nobody tells you. Settling here sounds like an easy decision to take back, but this is actually not the case for many people. The place we call a retirement home slowly draws you in, and it becomes your whole reality. Without even realizing it, your old life and your free world feel like a distant memory. If you are in a situation like this, are you ready for the possibility that getting out of here might actually be more difficult than you think? Because once you settle here, the factors that prevent you from leaving, whether financially, spiritually, physically, or emotionally, can become even more difficult. If you are still watching this video, please don't forget to write "I'm here" or "below" in the comments below to indicate that you are here. I also suggest you subscribe and turn on the notification bell if you are still not subscribed to the channel. In this way, you will support us in future quality content. As we come to the end of our video with you, I have thoughts I want to share. Looking back at everything that has happened, I have no regrets about living and growing old all these years, but I do regret having the idea that settling down in a nursing home was my only last resort. I had settled here hoping for a comfortable life, a safe environment, and a much better quality of life. But over time, I realized that during the time one stays there, one slowly realizes that one loses one's freedom, one's privacy, one's purpose in life, and one loses oneself completely. Based on all the situations I have described, I am not saying that all nursing homes are this bad. Yes, indeed, some of them are completely out of the box. We may really need all the services they offer, like care, security, and cooking, but you have to be careful what kind of opportunities and freedoms you are giving up when you make this decision, because once you take all this risk and settle there, it is really almost impossible to go back to your old life. If I had the chance to do all this from the beginning, I would have done whatever I had to do to stay in my old order and in my old home. I would have researched more and found out how I could do all of these services before my freedom and independence was taken away from me. I would also have known that I had to be there before making such a critical decision. Now, after all that I have told you, the question is, when you make a decision like this, is it really the best decision for you, or is it the easy one? Because at the end of the day, it's about your life, your freedom, and what you can do independent. And this choice will perhaps irrevocably change the rest of your life. Thank you for listening to me today, and don't forget to let me know in the comments if you think this video has helped you.